Today I'm going to show you how to do some very simple home cooking. We've got a nice pork shoulder which we are going to slow cook in an oven for 3.5 hours. We have a lovely buttermilk cornbread which is fantastic with a little bit of butter and maybe some honey. Ooh, yum, can't beat it. We're going to have some mashed yams, beautiful golden yummy yams. To balance it out, we're going to have some steamed broccoli with olive oil and salt and a very simple tossed green salad. It's going to be like dinner at my grandmother's house. A glass of wine, a loaf of cornbread, and thou. Who could ask for anything more? Meet me in the kitchen. I'll show you how to do it. One of my all-time favorite cuts of meat is a pork shoulder. This one is just shy of 5 pounds. It is beautifully marbled, which means that it's going to lend itself very well to a moist heat cooking method called braising. I'm sure you've heard of it before. Braising is when you don't actually submerge all of the meat underwater. You've got a portion of it, usually about a third, sticking up out of the liquid, and it's a long, slow process that actually it turns the collagen into gelatin, which is a funny little chemical thing. Isn't that nice? But anyway, you don't have to worry about it. What the long and short of it is that this is going to come out tender and falling apart, and it's going to go really well with everything else that we're cooking today. Okay, in order to begin, the first thing we want to do is season our meat, and then we're going to sear it in our pan to brown the outside of the pork and get all this wonderful crispy caramely flavor out of the roast. So here we go. It's always a good idea to preheat your pan so that as soon as you add that meat, it's going to make a sizzling, yummy noise. I like to use a little pan spray. This helps in my stainless steel pan to prevent stickage. Most dishes start with garlic, and I know a lot of people can have a little difficulty getting this annoying skin right off of the garlic. Let me show you a way to make that a little easier. Now you lay your garlic down. The rounded side should be up because if you've got a flatter end, it's going to be a bit more stable. And then take your palm and put your weight on it, and you can hear that little crunch. And you slightly crush your garlic, and that skin just falls right off. Now, this little end, which is toward the root end of the clove, we're going to want to cut that off because that's just kind of tough and woody. Blah. So I'll show you again. Got our little clove. We've got the little flatter end facing down. Lay your palm on it and crush. Did you hear that at home in TV land? We're going to crush 3 cloves of garlic over our pork and rub it in. I like to do this the night before if I can. These are our herbs. We've got about a teaspoon of rosemary and then about 2 teaspoons each of sage and thyme. If you can't get fresh herbs, the dried herbs are great. They're actually a bit more flavorful, so you don't have to use as many, but fresh herbs are wonderful, particularly if they're in season. Okay, while you're searing your roast, which is going to take you about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how much you want to do with it, how brown you want it to get, this is a really good time to work on your mirepoix, which is nothing more than the vegetable mixture, which is going to be the base for all of the flavor in your braised pork. Now today, this is a standard mirepoix with the addition of a whole head of garlic. And when I say standard mirepoix, that's nothing more than celery, carrots, and onion. And as you can see, these are chopped into fairly large pieces. And they don't have to be small, they don't have to be beautiful, because really they're just contributing flavor. And if they were too small, they might kind of lose their flavor and get a little bland. So today I've added to my mirepoix an entire head of whole garlic cloves, which I think really gives a nice, rich, buttery flavor to the pork. Now, technically, this is not a mirepoix because I like to cook it in olive oil. And I understand that if you cook it in olive oil, it's really an Italian word called sofrito. Who knew? Now that we have gone ahead and seared almost the entire outside of the roast, we're getting ready to do the next step before we put the roast in our preheated 350-degree oven. Now, we've got this last little bit of pink, which I'm going to turn. And you can see in the pan all this brown and black and smoky stuff. So we're getting ready to put our mirepoix directly into the pan as soon as this roast comes out, because this is a hot pan, and without the roast in it, it's going to get very hot, and we really don't want to burn what's in there. So as soon as the mirepoix goes in, it's going to start releasing moisture, and by itself, that moisture is going to help deglaze the pan. I'll explain what that means. So here we go. Yummy bits. Vegetables. You can hear them sizzling. They're releasing all kinds of water directly into the pan, which is, thankfully, reducing the heat in the pan because it was getting very hot. And if you were here right now, you would smell particularly the garlic and the onions along with the carrot and celery and all the wonderful aromatic flavors they're releasing. While there was plenty of water released by the vegetables, we also want to add our cooking liquid to the pan to get those last little bits of flavor scraped up from the bottom. What I have here is a combination. It's 1 cup Cabernet Sauvignon and 2 cups chicken stock. And here it goes. Did you hear all that sizzling stop? Peace. It's wonderful. Now, this is something that it's going to be a little hard for you to see, but with your flat-bottom spoon, you want to try to scrape the bottom of the pan as much as possible to release all of that caramelized and, okay, some of it is a little burned, but that's really just flavor. Don't think it's a failure or a bad thing.